The reason that we lock up more human beings than anywhere else in the world is because people in Louisiana are uniquely wicked and incapable of handling freedom. Fundamentally anti-American worldview. So, Adam, we've got this clip from a Louisiana sheriff that is really pretty wild, you know, kind of saying the quiet part out loud kind of stuff. Can you remind us, just give us a quick overview of the prison labor lawsuit that is underway right now in Alabama?
Yeah, sure thing. Last month, a bombshell lawsuit was filed involving current and former incarcerated workers alongside a civil rights nonprofit and a couple labor unions, the Union of Southern Service Workers, as well as the RWDSU Mid-South Council, which that's important, you know, that kind of coalition coming together. But the lawsuit is regarding what they are alleging is modern day convict lease labor in our prison systems. It's worth noting that Alabama has one of the highest incarceration rates in the country, which means we lock up more people inside of our borders than almost anywhere on earth. It's also worth noting that Alabama's prison system is unconstitutional, according to the federal government. Literally every moment that it's in operation is a violation of the constitutional rights of the people inside. That is according to the Department of Justice. And so that's important context in understanding that thousands of inmates have been coerced into performing labor. And so you might imagine working inside the prisons, right? And that is happening. In some cases, prisoners are actually doing the work of correctional officers, right? But being paid $2 per day. Many of these workers are under that $2 per day pay rate, which was set back in 1927 and has not changed. Other workers were leased out to private industries, and we see a variety of private employers as well as public employers also involved in this. So some of the employers involved include fast food franchises like KFC and Wendy's and Burger King. There are components of the auto supply chain, including a company named SL Alabama, which you may recall from our previous coverage, is the same company, or one of the same companies in the Hyundai supply chain caught using migrant child labor. So this particular company was working incarcerated workers 11 to 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. And the city of Montgomery, the city of Troy, the Alabama Department of Transportation, a Budweiser distributor, several poultry plants, right? So there were quite a few. In fact, the lawsuit alleges over 500 employers ultimately have been involved in this scheme. And the state of Alabama has profited some $350 million just in 2023 alone from the value created by this convict lease labor. Again, as I said, it's coerced, it's forced. Prisoners face repercussions if they do not go to work, even if they're sick, even if they're very ill, they face repercussions, right? And the guards will actually tell them, you've got to go make our 40%. And the 40% cut is what ADOC, the Alabama Department of Corrections, takes off the top of the check before any taxes, before deductions, before child support, before restitution. They're taking 40% right off the top. And then they are fining and fees. There's fines and fees and charges for essential services that you require, such as the transportation to and from work. There's the coercion that you face because the alternative, if you say no to the work release or the work programs, is to get put back into higher security facilities, which, as I said, are unconstitutionally cruel and violent. And so you're faced with a deadly choice, right? Go work yourself to the bone for pennies on a dollar, making profits for someone, both the state and private capitalists. Or you say no, and you're locked up potentially in solitary confinement, or perhaps even worse, with a violent inmate population where various forms of assault and abuse are highly prevalent and common.
A violent inmate population and a violent corrections officer population.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The system itself is violent. Let me just clarify that. And so we see reports of deaths coming out of the system on a regular basis, various forms of shocking abuse, right? And so this is the choice that these incarcerated folks are given. And the lawsuit alleges that, like I said, this is modern day convict leasing, which if you're familiar with American history, you may recall that convict leasing really took off after the decline of Reconstruction in the South. And so from roughly 1875 or so until the 1920s, convict leasing was a major source of profit in the state of Alabama and in other places in the South. And in fact, the labor movement was instrumental in leading the fight against convict leasing. The United Mine Workers of America, UMWA, helped lead the fight to ban convict leasing here in Alabama in 1928, or at least so we thought.
Yeah. And so, and this is just one, and we're going to play this clip in just a second, but, the convict lease system is just one of the many ways that the prison system is detrimental not only to the people inside of it, but outside of it, because 95% of these people, 99% of them are going to come back out at some point. And so the question is, do you want them coming back out better than they went in or worse than they went in? And almost uniformly, the people that go into our prisons are coming out worse in one way or another, and it is because of the decisions of our leaders to do that, to make prison such a terrible place, because they have really a warped kind of system of morality, in my view, and also because of this, the mass incarceration system makes it even difficult to, adequately care for everybody in the prison system, because we cage more people than most states in this country, which cages more people than almost any country in the world. And so, to believe that that's a just system, right? I just want to underscore that to believe that it is just that we lock up so many people, you've got to believe that the American people are uniquely wicked and incapable of handling freedom. And so therefore we have to lock up so many of our people. Otherwise, we would not be able to maintain social order. Right? That's what it's a fundamentally anti-American view, the view that mass incarceration is necessary. It's fundamentally anti-American, and I have a different view of the American people. I don't believe that that the American people are so uniquely broken that we have to lock up, so many more of our sisters and brothers than anywhere else in the world. Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
I wanted to real quick point out a couple other things that I've missed that are really worth highlighting with this and provide a lot of important context to the clip you're going to play as well. One of which is that the Black population inside of the Alabama Department of Corrections is more than double the Black population in the state of Alabama, right? So such a huge disproportionate impact on Black men and women when it comes to mass incarceration here. And the other thing that is involved in this lawsuit and is really, just shocking to think about is that the lawsuit points out the decline in paroles that have been granted over the last few years. A shocking decline in paroles have been granted, particularly to Black inmates. And what the lawsuit is connecting the dots there to say, well, now we know why you're denying parole. It's because a lot of these people you're denying parole to are making you money, right? And there is a perverse profit incentive to keep people locked up, even after you've determined that they pose no safety risk, right? They are safe enough to go out and work unsupervised alongside the general public and make you money at a Hyundai supplier or at a fast food franchise, but not worthy of parole. And so that's why Attorney General Steve Marshall, Governor Kay Ivey, All of these folks are named in this lawsuit. They're being very quiet about this lawsuit, as you can imagine. But it is really an egregious, shocking thing that in the year 2024, these sort of practices are being widely used. $350 million. I mean, that would be roughly 8% of Alabama's general fund budget, just
Right.
the general fund overall, not specifically the Alabama Department of Corrections budget. So we're talking a significant amount of money here that's being made by a lot of different entities off the backs of incarcerated workers facing cruel, inhumane conditions.
Right. And so the lawsuit basically connects by implication, a potential reason for, the declining parole rate, and, they connect it by implication to the prison labor system. But this clip of a Louisiana sheriff from 2017, but it's kind of resurfaced and been going around Twitter, especially in, Alabama circles, because it explicitly lays out this reasoning in a different state, and this is almost certainly what people are saying behind closed doors in our state. Let's take a listen.
I don't want state prisoners, okay? They are a necessary evil to keep the doors open, that we keep a few or keep some out there. And that's the ones that you can work. That's the ones that can pick up trash, the work release programs. But guess what? Those are the ones that they're releasing. They're releasing some good ones that we use every day to wash cars, to change oil in our cars, to cook in the kitchens, to do all that where we save money. Well, they're going to let them out. The ones that we use in our work release program, they're going to let them out. And they're saying you can take a little worse criminal. It's been long said that we were the #1 leader in the United States for incarcerating criminals in our criminal justice system. Well, let's face it, somebody got to be #1, and we got some bad dudes around here. Now, I'm as compassionate a fella as you ever going to meet if somebody deserves it, if somebody works for it.
Yeah, so there you go. And he ends that with exactly what I said, a fundamentally anti-American, in his case, anti-Louisianan worldview that, look, the reason that we lock up more human beings than any state in the country, in Louisiana, in the country that locks up more human beings than anywhere else in the world, just because people in Louisiana are uniquely wicked and incapable of handling freedom. That's like, he just out and said it, right? Okay. So that's part of that. He is a uniquely, he has a uniquely anti-American worldview, right? And then on top of that, he's talking about the prisoners as if it is an affront to him whether they come or go, because he explicitly says, part of my reason for wanting to keep these people here is because they're actually good workers, right? They are actually productive laborers, and it saves me a lot of money to just have them do it for free instead of actually paying people, right? That's what he's saying explicitly. And I don't see how you don't hear that and think, oh, wow, this is like slavery, right? This is like slavery, and it's bad, and we shouldn't do it. He should be impeached. He should probably go to jail, and, a lot of his people that are in his prison should be let go and should be given reparations, frankly, right? Having to deal with this guy. I mean, just the warden of a wicked system.
Yeah, again, it's a perverse incentive that if you're profiting off of someone's labor, of course you don't want to give that away. Right. And so it is uniquely, I agree with you. I think it is an anti-American, anti-freedom kind of perspective. And it absolutely, there's a profit motive there. He's pointing to it. He says these are good workers. Otherwise, we might actually have to pay free world workers, right? A living wage and benefits and respect their rights a little bit. And so, like, for example, the city of Montgomery has saved $3 million in the use of convict lease labor that otherwise would be paid to city employees, people with rights, people with benefits, right? People who would pay taxes and spend their money at local businesses. And so there's such a cascading effect to bring it back to your point earlier, most of us know someone impacted by the criminal justice system. It's hard not to in a place like Alabama. But even if you don't, or you don't have a close connection, we're all impacted as members of the working class. We're all impacted as participants in the workforce, as participants in the economy, right? As taxpayers. We all are directly impacted by this practice. And we all have to unite to say that this can't happen with our dollars, with our resources, in our name. And I applaud the Union of Southern Service Workers and RWDSU for taking a stand, because this is a historic mission of labor, right? To battle this kind of mega exploitation, whether it's the use of child labor, the exploitation of migrants, the exploitation of incarcerated workers. It is our job as a labor movement to fight against that and to build a broad working class coalition to fight against it effectively. So, we'll see what happens with this lawsuit. And I think the clip from the Louisiana sheriff is very instructive of the kind of mindset that we're dealing with when it comes to the people profiting from this system. And what we've got to do is remove the profit incentive to cage our neighbors. That's unacceptable.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.
Which side are you on?